Arnold, the National Taxpayers Union Executive Vice President. Brendan, the message we got from the White House yesterday was Jen Psaki essentially saying it would not be a good idea if businesses raise their prices in the backdrop of rising taxes. Well, that either happens or they start laying off or cutting salaries, or both. What did you think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know where they expect companies to get the resources in order to pay the $1 trillion in higher taxes that would be placed on corporations. What's going to happen, this is what happens every time you raise corporations, is labor pays a portion of it. That means workers pay a portion of these tax increases that is in the form of lower wages or that is in the form of layoffs. We don't want to see that happen. The National Association of Manufacturers said the Biden plan could result in 1 million fewer jobs as we try to climb out of this economic rut and get our economy back where it needs to be.
You know, Brendan, obviously a lot of companies are well aware of what could happen. The higher tax rate that they'll be looking at, some of these other ancillary taxes that could lift it all the more. A lot of the CEOs who run these companies are in that top bracket. They're going to be paying more. Yet, almost to a company, and certainly among retail companies, big plans for big hirings, 150,000 announced at Walmart, thousands more at retailers across the country, to say nothing of even auto companies that are optimistic after all of this supply disruption that there'll be a better 2022. Not at one, for the time being, holding things back in the face of what could be much higher taxes. Do you think it's because they don't see it happening or that they can deal with it?
I think they see it as they're looking at a lot of the chaos that Hillary just mentioned that's happening in Washington right now and hoping that it's going to pretend to a collapse of the Democratic plans and that these tax increases won't actually take effect. Because keep in mind, if these tax increases that Biden and the Democrats in Congress are trying to push take effect, we're talking about higher corporate tax rates than existed prior, higher effective corporate tax rates than existed prior to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. This is a bigger tax burden on American companies at a time where almost every country in the world is cutting their corporate taxes. Even countries like Sweden and France, they're cutting their corporate taxes in order to achieve more economic activity and higher job growth. We're trying to go in the opposite direction and pretending like tying our companies' hands behind their backs is going to somehow result in more jobs and more opportunities for average Americans. It's just not true.
You know, the rap you get from Democrats and some of the progressives is that, well, no one ever pays at the advertised, prevailing rate anyway. Well, you could say the same in other countries as well, but you're just going to lift it up almost 6 points higher. So whatever their prevailing rate just went up 6 points. So I always find that to be a specious argument, and companies are going to have to adjust in that world. They're going to have to do something. What do you think it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a big difference between the corporate statutory rates that's published and the effective rates that companies actually pay. And we see this as these negotiations are taking place with European and other countries across the globe. They all want to poke holes in the global minimum tax. They want to provide preferential treatment for the financial sector in England or the manufacturing sector in China. Everybody wants to create a tax code that benefits their companies, except apparently the United States of America, where we want to penalize technology companies, manufacturing companies, our most successful entities, out of some sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't say anti-Americanism, but just some sort of blindness to the fact that these rates matter, that these policies matter to everyday Americans who are out there looking for jobs in an uncertain economy, trying to put food on their table, dependent on Congress and the White House actually enacting policies that allow that to happen and not undermining their ability to succeed.
All right, Brendan, great catching up with you. Brendan Arnold, the National Taxpayers Union.